Yo, like, I really don't know why. I don't know if y'all let me know if it's that if the track sounds alright, if the sound sounds really fast. I'm trying some new things here, so bear with me if there's some technical difficulties and whatnot. Because yeah, so I do want to just go ahead and get into it. I got a guest here with me this afternoon, and really just gonna shoot the shit, kind of give things from a different kind of perspective. Today, you know, a behind the scenes kind of jaunt, and give a little face because, you know, I don't always give face here. So yeah, so we just came back from a rally in Scranton for trans youth, and pretty dope shit. If y'all didn't check out the event, y'all can check it out on the YouTube channel. It is there. I streamed it live for y'all to see. Definitely some really good gems spoken at the event today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest for today. Friend to the Leon block, has been here numerous times. You've heard him before. Activist, local activist Parker Webb. Thank you for being back on the show. Thank you. Appreciate you. So what I really want to talk about, because the centerpiece of this rally really had to do with trans youth, right? And so I just want to get into bullying. You know, like, I've been bullied my whole life. I've still been bullied to this day. I get bullied at times, you know? And I had a story, a situation happened to me pretty recent, where this person definitely made me feel, it reminded me of how I felt back in elementary school and the way I felt getting bullied then. Like, elementary school bullying, middle school bullying, high school bullying are all different kinds of bullying, you know, and they all have different impacts on your psyche as you're developing. For me, the hardest was middle school. And I think that a lot of people could probably agree with that. And I think those are really crucial years. That's when you really start paying attention. You're going to the locker room, you're doing sports, you pay attention to things like that. So it's a really hard topic in those years. It's no wonder that that's the age range that we tend to see a lot of the debates around trans youth in sports. And that's a point where any child or young adult is at a very vulnerable point in their life. And I guess it's not really a question, but like I guess I would say speak to your truth about that point of vulnerability. Like, what was it like for you at that point in time, if you remember?
Well, mine is a unique situation because at age 11, we moved from Central Jersey to Illinois. So my particular experience was being bullied for the first bit, and I honestly pretty much broke off communications with any of the other students because I knew any interaction was leading to something terrible. Because, as you said, the bullying does progress, and in middle school, the kids are starting to learn to manipulate you first. So they do the thing where they are like, oh, you're the new kid. Yeah, you can be our friend. Oh, gotcha. So that was my experience, to the point that I unfortunately, one incident I do remember is when I wasn't being bullied. It was one of the few instances I wasn't being bullied. It was a couple of older kids on the bus, and I was just in 6th grade at that point. You know, we had just moved there, and my sister is only 2 years older than me, so we rode the same bus to school. Well, my sister was sick that day, so I had to ride the bus by myself. I ended up sitting next to this older kid, and they were chatting with their friend who was sitting close too, and they said something funny, and I reacted the slightest amount. And she said, it's okay, you can laugh. And I started crying because I was so traumatized from like any social interaction already at that point, that this instance of not bullying made me cry.
Because it's the opposite of what you're already conditioned to and used to. I can relate to that.
Or like I was wondering too, like, is this real? Like, I don't feel like I can't trust this.
You
like,
still feel like, when's the shoe gonna drop? What's the joke now? Are you really fucking with me even more? Do you
like,
know?
I don't know how you're
that.
fucking with me. Like, I don't understand how you're gonna do this.
And I also can relate to I like how to say, from my perspective, I've been in situations where I don't want to draw any attention to me, so I won't react, I won't move, I won't speak. I want to be as invisible as possible, because the moment that I do anything that draws attention to me, someone's gonna bully me for how they think that I'm gay. So I would just be, that's why I learned to just like enjoy and just really revel in being invisible in an environment, so that I can assess my surroundings to know if I can be comfortable or not, or what level of comfortability I have, what privileges I will have in a specific environment.
Yeah. So you learn to really take yourself out of the situation and look around and assess, and so it gives you a lot of perspective in that way. Yeah, so that was my major bullying experience.
See, I got bullied a lot. And then when I moved from Coatesville to Wilkes-Barre, bullying stopped. Completely different environment, completely changed who I was. I don't think I would be the person I am today had I moved from Coatesville to Wilkes-Barre, because I was able to be free to express myself in any way possible. The possibilities were limitless, and that was unheard of to me. But I quickly immersed myself in it and felt comfortable because the people around me encouraged me to be comfortable in who I was, who I am. And I know and understand that I'm extremely blessed to have that experience, especially in like the 2000s, where a lot of people didn't experience those kinds of things. But it's still important to share that story for people that haven't experienced that to know what it could be like. Say they're not out and they're in the closet and they want to know what a supportive environment feels like for you. I know what it feels like. I know what both sides of the coin feel like because I've experienced both. And I know the differences, the effect that it has on you on both sides. I know how much I came out of my cocoon and blossomed when I was able to when people around me made me feel comfortable, like I could be myself. When uh, Heather Patricia says, "Hey Jontel, hey Parker, um, what's going on, Heather? I didn't get to see you at the event. She lives in Scranton. A really powerful individual in Scranton. I'm damn. I'm so mad I didn't get to see you. Like, yeah, there's a lot of really powerful individuals in Scranton, and they're doing some really big things up there. So yeah, we definitely have to come up there and work on some things, collaborate with some things going on in the future. And Heather, reach out to me because I want to get you on the show and interview you too. Actually, uh, for me, it was definitely one of those things. Like my life, I'm transparent with my whole life story because there's so many lessons in each of the stories that I can present to the world. But this specific one on this topic about bullying, yeah, I've been in many different environments that have had an effect on me, and maybe that's part of why I can see why I have a knack for presenting all sides of a story. But I feel that that's important. And when it comes to this topic, I'm glad that I went from having a hard time to having a good time, and then propelling forward with that growth and building and doubling down on top of it versus being in a good environment and then having to regress and go to a bad environment, you know? So that's the lesson that I take away from it, that I don't, that's not a gift that I should be able to hold in for myself. That's something that needs to be shared with the world for other people to learn and understand that the environment you put yourself in does play a part in the treatment or support you can receive. With now that goes without saying that not everyone has the luxury and privilege to put themselves in environments. With that being said, what do you do when you cannot escape those environments or you cannot leave those environments? So I'm asking you, what would one do?
Well, and then there's the, kind of existential question of what is better? Is it better to leave and go somewhere that's going to be just more accepting of you? Or is it better for you to stay where you want, like if you are in a place that you want to be, besides the fact that you are bullied or discriminated against there or things like that, is it supposed to be you that leaves, or are
Right.
you supposed to stay there and make the place that you want to be better?
Right.
So I mean, that's is it even necessarily better to just
Home is where the
leave?
heart is, which can be anywhere.
Yeah.
The mental and metaphysical, and it's your gut, but also your environment that you grow up in. If it's all you know, it's within your means, and I think also perfectly fine to want to stay and fight for the area or the place that you love so much. But I will also say, what does they say? What did they say? The world is your oyster. Like, go out and see the world. You don't know if the home that you thought was your home just because you were born there, somewhere else might be your actual real home, and you never knew that because you never went and branched out and explored. And I'm not saying that you have to like never come back, but go explore before you decide that you want to live your life in that particular place, and succumb yourself to extra amounts of stress and negativity and pain and prejudices simply because you want to raise your kids in a particular place. By all means, you if you want to do that, you can. I'm not saying that you cannot, but like I said, I always think it's important and imperative to check out all routes if you can and see what works for you before you settle down in one place, especially when it comes to our communities, because honestly, we can be discriminated anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in an urban setting, a suburban setting, or a rural setting. You're going to face some kind of prejudice. So it's a matter of you finding your home and what is comfortable for you. And going back to bullying, I think you can take that and bring it over to bullying and say the same thing. Um, I got to a point where I was so fucking fed up of being bullied constantly. I just started fighting back. Like, I didn't care. I was bucking down every month. I was getting suspended, and that was part of the reason why my mom moved me away. So you stand up and you fight back, and inadvertently something happens anyway to remove the obstacles out of your way. And I don't think for me it was necessarily trusting the process, but I also did not just sit back and do nothing. Doing something and taking action is also part of what set the precedent for other events to happen for me to get myself out of those situations that I was desperately fighting to get out of. So my point is not necessarily that fighting back physically is always the answer, but I will say it is important if somebody physically harms you, bust some fucking heads. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I'm not saying actually physically bust some heads, but if somebody physically touches you, by all means, I'm saying defend yourself. With that being said, it's also great to in a lot of these situations when you're bullied for so long, you mentally come up with all these scenarios of what you want to do back and how you want to get them back. So really think about those scenarios in a very smart way about how you can A, get these bullies reprimanded, B, teach them an actual lesson that they will take and learn forever, C, if you want to be a petty Betty and get revenge and you're a teenager, by all means do so, because that's what teenagers should do. And D, be completely, totally, unapologetically you. And that pertains to all of the A, B, and C as well when I say that, because you don't want to do something that is not you. If all your quote unquote friends are telling you to I don't fucking know, for example, dump fucking white paint and black feathers on top of your bully, and that's not your style of get back and revenge, don't do something that's out of your means of who you are as a person. Do you know what I mean? Like, if your get back is this your get back, do that get back. If that's your get back, do that get back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that you don't want to step outside the means of who you are, especially if you're a teenager. Those years are very, a couple months makes a difference in who you are as far as growth goes, you know? So it's important to really stay true to who you are. Don't really listen too much to like your peers in that age group. And E, I would say definitely involving outside peer intervention, like not people from school, but asking advice. I wouldn't even say from your guidance counselor, because they probably are not helping if you're already in those kind of situations. But I would be more inclined to say like a therapist, B, friends outside of that school district that are maybe in other environments where they're in more nurturing environments and can really validate you and really build yourself back up, fill your cup back up to remind you that you don't have to succumb to this bullying. You know what I mean? And then also parents and older adults that can really speak and validate your feelings, but also have some kind of authoritative um, mindset behind this and actually be able to kind of do something, whether it's uh, through law or um, what's the word, petitions, or physically going to the school and bringing up a conversation, going to media. And these things I think pertain to a bunch of different things. So don't just pertain this specifically to the bullying, okay? Because there's a lot of different things that happen that not only just fall under bullying, but there's a whole bunch of different other things that happen to our community as well. And I'm like rambling here, but I know there's things that you could add into that too, suggestions that I'm sure that you have as well.
Well, I was gonna say on those notes, like if you're getting bullied in school, go to the GSA. You know, find the appropriate person to report it to. Find somebody that you trust. Find somebody that you know is going to be supportive of you. Don't just go to principal or whoever. Like, go to a trusted person first. And then if it needs to go to the principal, they can go with you to the principal and they can be an authoritative figure, like you said. Right. So, yep. So go to that good person, somebody like somebody from the GSA, or if there's nobody in your school, see if you've got a local nonprofit LGBTQ plus group, you know, something like that. And then if you even have to, look nationally, because there are national, like call the Trevor Project and say, I live in Bumble,
West
wherever,
Bumblefuck.
you know.
That's what I was gonna say, because there are literally some places that don't have anyone, anything perceivably. And so what do you do when you're in the middle of nowhere and you have no one? As Parker said, look nationally. For example, the Trevor Project. There are people that you can speak to over the phone. Um, if you're in a real crisis and you need your cup filled, there are people that you can speak to immediately. And then there are also people that can set you up with resources to help you with, like, say you want to get out of that area, or set you up with really grounding resources, I'm sure, to help you survive the environment that you're in.
Well, and in smaller areas too, sometimes like say like the YWCA might actually like serve also trans women in the area. So even if there's not necessarily like the LGBTQ plus group, calling something like the Trevor Project or something, they may know a local resource that might help you as well. So it's always worth calling around and asking and trying to find the support, because honestly, sometimes it's there and it's just hard to find because we're small, we're running on volunteers and nothing basically, but we want to do what we can. It just can't, you know, we don't have all these advertising dollars. We don't have all this like get the word out money. So we get the word out as much as we can. But call around, ask, because sometimes that's how you have to find us.
Honestly, even though we're in this age of all this technology, it seems that word of mouth and just good old networking is always tried and true, because along with that comes intentional understanding of whose vibe matches what vibe. You can feel out someone's energy and know where their heart is face to face. Not that you can over the internet, because you can. Not everyone's in tune that deeply, but face to face, you can pick off of body language. You can tell how invested someone is, and you can connect a little better. Not even saying just personally, face to face. I mean, but over the phone, video chat. Connecting these ways, actually having a whole conversation and building rapport with someone, even if they are across the country. Um, those connections, one by one, in other words, is the key, still, and I think always will be, that main driving force of building connections and bridges the best way possible, the most I don't want to say efficient, but the most impactful way is through just good old grassroots, because everyone is being touched in some way and they leave taking something away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So what say you, Parker? What organization is it that you represent? I know I talk about Ladies Chooses Love all the time, but it's time for you to go ahead and get your plug in.
Well, president and co-founder of Lidditz Chooses Love. We support our LGBTQ plus community and beyond in Lidditz and surrounding areas. We did start with a movement in Lidditz, but the need for our queer and transgender community in all of Lancaster County was screaming at us at that event. So we have kept the ball rolling from that and are creating a resource center. We'll be opening in Penryn, so a lovely little Lancaster County LGBTQ plus resource center for us all. And we are also going to be providing for all the community. It is an all-inclusive resource center. So we will have also things about racial justice, and we are also going to provide free food for all the community. And it's going to be an overall center. We have some really high hopes for it. We're going to keep adding to our list of resources there. But right off the bat, like I said, we're going to have a food pantry. We're going to have a clothing closet, the gender affirming clothing closet. Like I said, you don't have to be this trans to enter or anything. Everybody who needs clothes can get clothes.
See, I dig that.
We want to be able to hook everybody up to these resources. Like I said, if you need a resource, calling your local nonprofit. They should be able to, if they can't do a specific service themselves, hopefully they'll be able to send you to another place that does. I love calling around my other nonprofits and finding out what they're up to and letting them know what they can call me about. If they have a need for the transgender community, please, like, if you have a question, call me. So, yeah. So we're rolling with that.
It really is about sharing resources and connecting the dots, filling in the blanks, because if someone else isn't going to do something, someone else might as well. We can't all hoard the same things together and think that we're going to solve everything ourselves. You got to let somebody else handle it. And the connection that we're going to make here is that I spoke at the Lidditz Chooses Love event that Parker helped throw together with fellow friends in the community, and someone reached out to me, asked me to speak. I spoke a poem, and we've been great friends ever since. And one thing that stuck out to me was how inclusive they are and how much they really drive home the point of making sure that Black and brown queer people, but in particular Black and brown trans women especially, are getting the help and care that they need. We actually do have Black and brown trans women here, especially in the city, and I've come across a few that need resources provided to them, and at this point I don't know what has happened. And so the last I heard, they weren't provided with anything. So it's nice to see an entity come together that is looking to be from the jump all inclusive. And so I'm looking forward to seeing your entity blossom and doing great things around here. I also attended the coming out event that y'all did, which was really cute, and had a good time. So yeah, I really appreciated tagging along and being able to showcase the event that was going on today, which was the Pennsylvania Trans Youth Rally held in Scranton today. It was blustery cold and rainy as all fuck, and I was shaking my little tail feather off, but I filmed it for y'all because that is what I do. And so there was some really great points made. I got to speak to the local news station, got to see my old city. That was great. We didn't stay for long. And yeah, that wrapped up the day for today. I just really wanted to touch base a little bit, share some stories, because I really wanted to drive in that little topic about bullying, because it's the core of what we're really talking about. Yes, this concerns trans youth, but trans youth are youth. And what happens with youth? They're fucking bullied.
Well,
so,
and real quick, just to point this out, which was a point hit home at this rally, it's not just when I was bullied as a kid, and we're talking over 20 years ago. Yeah, that sucked, but it was other kids bullying me, And yeah, some authority figures being jackasses, but right now we have politicians in power making laws that are discriminatory against trans. There's states that have bills against trans youth receiving health care that affirms their gender, which has already by the medical community been deemed the appropriate way that you should. I forget the exact verbiage that they use, but they're very clear at this point that the proper way to treat any transgender youth is with gender affirming treatment, to treat them as the gender that they are. That is the medical consensus at this point. So any doctor who is not working within those bounds should have their license pulled. So
you heard it first.
The fact that these politicians are trying to come in between doctors and patient in a way that now is basically making the way that they're doing their medical treatment illegal. That's just ridiculous. So it's these people in power bullying kids.
Yeah.
The power dynamic is ridiculous.
Oh well, this is with every different separate demographic that are kept from one another. We're all dealt some kind of similar treatment, just in the shade that the hue that they've given us to work within. So, though this is nothing new, it's one more obstacle and issue that we had to deal with in 2021. So, stay tuned for more information on what we shall do about it. Stay tuned for more connections with solutions and more people. This is not a topic that is going to go anywhere anytime soon. This is not anything that is going away anytime soon, people. So get with it. Inform yourself. Ask questions. Talk to people. Get to know people. And ask, what can you do? What can you do? Because what can you do, Parker?
Well, honestly, we were talking earlier about, like, if you leave or if you stay, you have to decide what you're going to do. If you stay, you'd best stay and fight. If your kid's getting bullied for something, you really have to stand up for them, because we know how things are in the school systems right now. We know what's been happening to school boards, especially across Central PA. Yeah. So you cannot leave it to the authorities to help your child. You have to be there for your kid. And if you have to decide that homeschooling's the way to go, that might be the way to go. I begged to be homeschooled. I didn't have a fight back attitude when I was a kid. I just wanted to be left alone at that point. I just wanted to be left alone. So and if I could have been homeschooled.
Were you homeschooled?
Never. No, my parents told me to tough it out, go make friends. Maybe act more like a normal kid and you'll have friends type of, yep. The harmful, that's the other thing, accept your kids. That's the thing. If your kids are being bullied, that means they're not being accepted at school, probably by every other student, maybe their teachers, but if your kid's not being accepted by you as well, there's nothing. They have no acceptance in their life. So that's what every parent can do, is accept and love their child. Because that is why we have the mental health and suicide issues we do. Not because of anything that we're born with or anything. It is the life that we end up leading of being completely shut out by society.
Yeah. Yeah. Key word there, society. I think that is the key word. And I'm going to wrap it up on that note. Is there anything else you want to let people know, Parker? Are there any new events coming up?
I feel like I'm not supposed to announce it because our social media team is still working on it. So check out our social media in the next few days for a big, huge announcement.
Awesome.
But we are also having a Transgender Day of Remembrance at St. Paul's on November 20th at 6 p.m.
November 20th, 6 p.m. All right. Stay tuned for that. And make sure you are liking, subscribing, following, sharing all of the episodes and podcasts. Check them out. Last night, I was on a show called Alcoholics with Teray Myrix. You definitely got to check that out. We got drunk and talked about politics. It was really dope. Talked about everything from Biden to Big Bird. You definitely don't want to miss that. It's on all streaming services. I listened to it on Spotify. It was like an hour and 15 minutes of just pure fun. And if y'all remember, I had Terrain on my show about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to have him on the show again very soon. So stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss. I love y'all. It's always a pleasure having you. Seriously, I don't know what I would do without y'all. It's like, seriously, this has become my life. And little bit by bit, I'm gonna share more background scenes type of shit with y'all as we come up to the year anniversary, because it's really important and it's something very dear to me. So again, thank you for tuning into the Leon Block. Meditate on your path, celebrate your being, liberate your spirit, and educate yourself. I'm Jontel. Arm yourself with knowledge and have a blessed journey, y'all.